All right. So we're going to go over, or I'm going to go over, I guess, my plans for the server. Because I think the idea of what the server is has changed over time. But I also think that I'm going to be able to slowly execute almost everybody's plans. Because what I'm noticing, especially with the variety of different gameplays that Minecraft has, there are many different ideas about how Minecraft is played, and the the kind of make your own enjoyment of Minecraft works, but it also, like, this is really hard to articulate. But also, some people are not used to maximizing the amount of value within Minecraft. Now, I'm actually going to give a little bit. Actually, now that I say that too, I'm going to give a little bit of a perspective in terms of what our community was supposed to be originally, as I tried to put it together, and other people helped me, and whatnot, from the mindset of an Overwatch player. Now, we do have lots of disagreements in Overwatch. But there is a overall mindset of what is supposed to be done, and this is something that the Minecraft community is not really used to doing, especially too since I've tried to have us as a somewhat noob-friendly survival map. Now, of course, with survival maps being, we'll slowly go into this, but. Okay, so I have this really shitty overlay thing that we're going to use, and I'm going to do my best to explain, and this is probably going to take quite a while because there's going to be a lot of different points that we're going to go through, and a lot of different game design concepts in tandem with what people want from their Minecraft experience. Okay, so in Overwatch, let's say you have the timeline of an Overwatch game, and hopefully this looks good. No, that looks like absolute crap. Wow. Okay, is that, how does this work? Okay, I bring the opacity up. This is going to look like absolute crap. But let's say this is the timeline of an Overwatch game. All right. Well, what you're expected to do within that timeline is basically absolutely anything you can possibly do to maximize value. And every single time you play Overwatch, so every single time you jump into one of these games, it's the thickness. I guess if now that I'm doing this, I should have learned how this pen system works, but like you're supposed to do anything you possibly can within this timeline to win the game. Now, what happens with Minecraft and what happens with a lot of open world games is that you can kind of wander off and pick whatever direction you want, even though it may not be high value. I use a chart like this a lot when talking to Overwatch players, where you always want to kind of consider your value, and I'm going to use orange because Overwatch is orange. During the game, when fights are going on, you want to provide high amounts of value, but you never, ever, ever want to go into the negative value, because as soon as you go into that negative value, you're working against your team, and you're working towards a loss. Now, back to Minecraft. Minecraft players, what they can do is they can wander into the negative value for quite a while in their gameplay, and then when they learn something, they shoot up, and they do something high value, and then after a while, they go back to do something that's fairly low value. And this can actually be considered with a whole bunch of different. Let's a second. Let's see if I can just erase this here. Pen and wipe. This can be considered like. Well, you can actually take a look at the different aspects in terms of like PvP Minecraft, which we'll do. Let's see. I'll do back. Yeah, I can do PvP Minecraft. Survival, which is survive. I must do the whole thing. Survive. There's PvP. There's survival. There's building. ILDING. There's exploring. There's exploration. I should just put build. Explore. Okay. Then there is adventure, which is all of the little lore things, like you could say the different creatures and different worlds and different biomes, which is the adventure, and the survival. It's like features like hunger, which I know can be considered survive, but survival is much different. Hunger forces you forward in the game to adventure forward and adventure. Adventure. Oh, this is hard. I gotta get a left-handed mouse. I'm actually a left-handed writer. So yeah, you have all of these things, and really, if you're doing a lot of PvP, so actually you can kind of consider these beside each other. Let's consider this the timeline of your Minecraft career and all these things, and they're split up into different lines. Right. You're kind of either doing one or the other at any specific time, right? If you go out and you're adventuring, and then you can actually go to low value adventure, and then you can go to high value build where you now build all the stuff that you've done, and you go low value again, and like let's say you go to do PvP, now you have this high value thing right here, and then you have low value, right? Actually, I know this chart's getting a little weird, but you can consider this is the middle line of every section, and if you're above it, you're doing high value. If you're below it, you're kind of working against yourself. So you could imagine it with adventuring, like if you're doing more adventuring, you're doing less building, and you're doing less PvP. You're actually putting yourself at risk. So, anyways, so you can see how there's a variety of different kind of values and aspects, and there is all of this in Overwatch. But really, in Overwatch, we focus mostly on the PvP. But there is survive. The adventure and the explore is kind of like early stage of learning the game and kind of figuring out the basic stuff. And there is no building, so we don't have to worry about this. Now, this is really important in Minecraft because I had been a fan of survival games all my life, as I've said before, and I also come from it from looking at a bunch of anarchy servers on YouTube, obviously 2B2T being the biggest one, but I wandered through a whole bunch of different ones, and there's even like semi-anarchy where there's no hacking allowed. It's simply just, or it's a chaos server, I think it's called. I can't remember the exact theory for it. But I like that whole survival aspect because I love the concept of building something in danger. Now, what I've realized really quickly is that a lot of people come in the game from like one of these aspects, like one of these things. They've only ever done building, so they've only ever been in survival, they've only ever been in creative, and they build these massive, crazy structures, right? There's tons of people who've only ever explored. There's people who, their goal is PvP. This is what they do is PvP, and what can happen in Minecraft, which is really crazy. Which I personally didn't mind too much, which I hope was kind of happening on the server, but unfortunately I took too much of an administrative role to play it. This is what kind of, I guess, pissed a lot of people off too, is that I can't be in the middle of it. Or else actually I am kind of cheating in a lot of ways. This is where there's a conflict of interest, but I know this is where I have the 10k rule. Anyways, so let's say you have someone that's doing high PvP. What can actually happen is it can remove the value from everybody else down below. So someone spends a whole bunch of time just adventuring, someone spends a whole bunch of time just exploring, and has gained a little bit of survival value, right? Then somebody who's in the PvP zone, who's really high PvP and meets the other player at this one specific time, they have very low value PvP, and therefore they're not going to win. And therefore it actually removes all the extra winning and stuff that's going on. Okay, so that was a mouthful. As you can see, there's a lot going on there, but that is kind of the foundation of the entire game and the game design and what I'm working with at the moment. Now, I'm no monster. I have some empathy. If this was a pure anarchy server, I'd say this is a pure anarchy server, and honestly, I'd say suck it and you got to go somewhere else. But I did make promises of this being a semi. Oh my gosh, I'm losing my voice. Of being a semi noob friendly survival. Now, you guys would be surprised how noob-friendly survival this is if you guys have never been on a full survival server, because I know a lot of people come onto it thinking, oh, it's, a friendly survival server where I get my own plot of land and I can kind of hang out. Now, I want to be able to provide that, but there's actually, that removes the ability for anything else to be fairly useful, okay? You could take something like, let's say, we can go back a little bit, too, to get rid of, I think I can. Is that it? No? Undo? Is that doing anything? That's not doing anything? I gotta learn how this works. I can just wipe it. Anyways, so let's say somebody, of course, what I consider actually is taking me outside the game. Now, when I was younger, I wouldn't care too much. That was survival games. Usually server owners just ran the server and they left it and they went, if you're screwed, you're screwed. I would never ever think about messaging the server owner and asking for help. There's no. That's why I didn't consider this kind of level to the game either. I didn't consider this kind of way that people played. But this is where, of course, we create this 10K rule. Now, there's a little bit of confusion around what I mean by the 10K rule and why I've been playing the Dictator. Because, and I know we don't have the full range here, but what I've done is I've allowed the map to render out the full range of 10K on either side, so you get to see that's not 0, 0, but whatever. 10K out here and 10K out here. Okay, because this is the area where I wanted to give people the opportunity to build their own game. And this is where I feel like I've restricted things a little bit too much with the 10K rule, and I actually think we should make like a 1,000 rule too. I have to hold Control Z. That is really annoying. Control Shift Z? No, that doesn't work. Okay, that's really annoying. Whatever. Well, I'll go on talking. Okay. And I find it super impressive when things are building creative. What I've realized slowly, and this is where also my level of distrust comes in too for a lot of certain things, is that I want to give people the powers to be able to build things too, even in creative. So we have some very, very skilled builders on the server. But also, like, a lot of them come in with the idea that they can be built and left alone and they can message me when they get attacked, right? Because I see the game, or at least as the entire scope of what Mojang has built. Now, the 10K rule to me means that we can build almost anything we want as long as it doesn't go outside of 10K. My distrust of the players, which trust me, like, and I'm pretty sure you guys know too, some of you may know why I'm a little distrustful. It's not because of my disrespect, or like, it's not like I would disrespect them and hate them for this kind of stuff. So I'm not going to say I really don't like getting in the politics of this. This is why I'm I'm putting asterisks here. But this is where, like, what's a good way of putting it? Because it's really hard to say these things without getting frustrating. This is where, like, okay, so some people, I'll give them a small power and they don't realize it, but they'll be exploiting it, not because of their lack of inner morals, but because of their lack of understanding of the game design theory that I'm laying out right now. So, for example, if I give somebody the ability to hover just a little bit and they're with a group of people, well, they're going to use that ability to fly. They're going to use that ability to go around. So and it's too tempting. And there's a reason why I've tried to separate my two accounts, but even the ability for me to see when you guys get certain ores and when that kind of when that stuff goes on really exploits my ability in these political matters. Now, and there's also a reason to why it's very hard for me to manage these things, because I actually see both sides of the argument literally when you guys message each other. And I know it's really bad for the administrator to say that, because that pushes people away from using the in-game messaging system. But every single moderator everywhere has that ability. That's just the way the internet works, guys. You cannot do that. So just on top of that, if I'm going to go in and take a look at an argument and see what people are saying, I can see both sides. And I can use Google Translate and generally to get the idea if, as I'm an English only speaker. So I like there's a hard thing here. Now, the answer to all this, the politics, which I hate, which is the dictator of 10K. And I've tried to delegate watchers, but very much for political reasons. It's very difficult to find people who are actually going to be fair watchers. And that means that they want to separate themselves from the game, and they simply want to play as a third party. Because if I give these powers to people, there's not a way that you will not use it against your enemies. If you have enemies, there's no way. I've told people that work ruins it, and sometimes that may not be the obvious thing, but that actually is what it is. When you give the advantage, there's a lot that's involved with it socially and morally and whatnot that goes on. That's like, okay, do I have the ability to do this? Do I not? So that way, anyways. So 10K rule, what we're doing and how we're going to do it. I'm going to try and split 10K out into different zones based off of different creators and builders. And I know it's very hard to do community things all at once, but this is politics is complicated and dirty, and this is kind of what we're dealing with. Let's see if I can zoom out here a little bit. There we go. Get the full of 10K. All right. That's basically it. Now, let's get our little pen thing back up here too. There we go. All right. Now, we've made the 10K rule. We can exile people. We actually have a few people already that are in exile, which have self-exiled themselves, which is quite funny. I actually think that's quite hilarious, and actually probably good game design. I will admit that there might be a little glitch with zoning. We're teleporting people out like that. Actually, no, there isn't. Never mind. I'm good. I'm thinking about it. This is hard to do live. Or not live, but, you know. Anyways. You know, and anyways are the things that you got to stop saying when you're talking about this. Let's go into this. So, within 10K, I am going to fully support builders and supporters who want and have a full plan and can give me a full plan of what they are doing when they are building it. Now, that does not mean every single detail. I do not want to see the whole scale of your project. I don't want to know how the machines work. I don't want to know how your systems work. All I want to know, and I don't want to know how your redstone and whatever works. All I want to know is what properties you're going to use and how you're going to do it. Now, there needs to be a large group of people, but I'm not just going to give out properties like crazy. We've had an issue with players bunkering down in their properties, building something to hit minimum standards, and then going out and harassing. This is not just a individual problem. We've heard of these issues, and it's my fault as the server owner that these have become large server issues. I don't think people see past the politics of the server, especially when everybody's so public about it on the Discord. And also, again, people are making decisions not understanding, not being informed of these things. This is really important because a lot of their server owners will build their systems quite differently. Now, there's no way to split 10K up by location. What I do want, and I don't mind, and I actually find quite fun, is, you know, having the exiled at the gates, building things here, and trying to do cheeky shit. So the closer you get to 10K, the more riskier it is, right? The more risky your plays are, and potentially even you might come across some sinister actors, you know, who have their little communities and whatnot out here. But I'm probably not. I'm getting on the edge too of saying, as the 10K dictator rule, full on raiding within 10K is probably gonna be slowly phased out here. People say that, and I've been told multiple times, that there's no incentive to go outside of 10K. Well, this is the uncomfortable game design. If you guys have seen, there's a video, you know, in parks, let's say you have a bench, okay, and then let's try and do my little bench here. And then here's the back bench. Okay, and they have like little nubs on them that go across. It's so people can't sleep on them. All right. Well, within 10K, we're going to start putting those little nubs everywhere. One of those big things is we disabled the ender crystals. I should do purple. We disabled the ender crystals. There's whatever obsidian below it. That is no more. That is not a thing. All right. I do want to enable things like TNT because, of course, there's a lot of construction projects and whatnot that go on with it. But that's really important. Okay. We're going to go through a lot of these things. Now, what I've done is I've actually given a significantly large property to Genava here, and I do have plans as just to update these guys on it. I do have plans, of course, to split it off, which will happen, but this is something that would probably takes me like an hour or two to set up because every single property has priorities. Let's go into that. We're going to go into the technicalities of priorities on the server. So we have certain properties. You guys know that we have the 10K zone, all right? And there is the 100K zone, which is all the way out there. I'm just 100, all right? And then we have things like, well, we'll put Janaba. All right, we got the Necromancer, we got Mod Town, and then there's a few little properties here and there. And then, of course, we have Spawn, which is going to be right there. All right, so obviously the big thing is, like, who the fuck are these guys? I'll be fully honest. Yeah, who the fuck are these guys? Why did I give them a whole bunch of free property? Well, I gave them a whole bunch of free property because they proved what they were going to do, okay? They came in, they had a goal, they made a large thing, and whether or not we disagree on politics, I'm holding my word. This is not my land to make politics, all right? This is my land to make dictations about the system and let the people squabble it out within their systems. Now, I want more of these cities, okay? We actually have a city, I don't remember where it is, but the city of the Fried People, which I think is right here. All right, and we have the kingdom, we have the Maple Kingdom, which, oh my gosh, this shows you, I haven't been looking on the map too much. I'm not going to draw out everything else. But I want more of these guys. And I want more of them because you guys want more of them. Right? Now, the issue is, on this, is that these guys, of course, cannot build. Anybody who wants to build anything can't build when they're focusing on getting their ass whooped by the people who simply focus on the PvP that we talked about. Right? Because it's really easy to roll across the land in kind of a grid fashion and just murder everything as you go, simply take all the stuff, and somebody who's spending all their time just building right here just gets absolutely destroyed, right? And has no chance of building. Now, there have been many innocent actors, too, on the server that say they're not doing things to, like full destruction. And I don't mind some, like, burning and raiding and looting a little bit. Like, that's totally fine within these lands. But there are some people, of course, that come in with senseless destruction. I've kept an eye out for senseless destruction, and within 10k, of course, this is one of these things where I try and undo. And it's actually very, very I gotta be very careful about these things, because imagine if I gave powers up to somebody else, which allowed them to do these things. If they have some kind of political affiliation to somebody, then I can't give them out. But what we're gonna do, and this is kind of with the regions and stuff like that. Obviously, some people cannot access 10k now. But we're actually going to have, and I want to actually, I keep saying this over and over, I'm getting stuck on myself because I'm getting stuck on my own thoughts. But my ability to do this is actually very limited. Okay, I do have a bit of scripting experience. I do have a bit of programming experience, but scripting is more my thing, meaning that I take other people's programs and I like moving them around and putting them in places to make things work. I can kind of do these things. But I can either focus on building these things for the communities, or I can focus on hyper-social individual issues and going through the chat. Now, if I give other people, this is where, again, I'm kind of at a crossroads. What we're going to be able to do, hopefully, using the tools and plugins that I have, if I have the time, and this is more of a potential, actually, maybe politically I shouldn't be saying this either, because this puts me in a position to finish something like this. But I also want to tell you guys this is based off of support and what I can, what time I can actually put into it. What time I want to actually, first is that I want to do stuff for my own fun, and also, this is work for me. But to be able to build some kind of passport system. You'll be able to go into single properties and out of certain properties within 10k with certain passports. This will allow communities inside 10k to basically form. I'm slowly adding more things like the tents. We have now added tents, which are basically little, we'll do fire, which are fireplaces. And then we have towers, which are, I don't know what I would do a tower. I got to do orange anyway, whatever. Which are basically lanterns. This is my terrible lantern. Come on, give me orange. Right. The fireplaces protect 11 by 11 by 11. What am I doing here? Oh my gosh, now I gotta slowly undo. 11 by 11 by 11. Okay, and the towers, they are 50 by 50 by 50. All right. And what we'll be able, hopefully, again, this is what I'm trying to build, is ways that we can connect these together. Actually, they already kind of can be connected together, and you can have a passport system that allows people to move in and out of these properties, and certain properties can be claimed. Now, this means that things like campfires can be earned too. We have little challenges like the 10K challenges that give you server hearts, which allow you to actually earn these properties and set them up. So if you're here for a long time and you develop a property and whatnot, then you're good to go. Now, of course, if you want to fund the server, if you want to back the server in any way, if you want to spend some money, then we'll give you a property, because that's what you're doing, is you're backing the server and you're saying that I want to have a little place where I can develop whatever I want, to do whatever I want without an issue. Now, I don't mind some issues, but of course, like, this is where we can leave this to people outside of 10K. I also truly believe that some people will have bases eventually inside 10K and outside of 10K, so that they're able to go back and forth and kind of do what they want in a way. Free players may complain about that, but the free players can earn their way. And if they're assholes, they get kicked out before they earn their way. And I may be wrong about this, but if you're an outcast, you may actually be able to, if you're outcasted, if you're outlawed, you may actually still be able to access those chests on the outside. So there is some way for them to earn things, but of course they can't place them down because, well, yeah. Anyways, I'm working on these things. The technicalities, this is very difficult because every single property, I'm sorry there's so much to go over here again, but I'll delay it even more by saying that I'm sorry, but you can see how complicated these things are. Every single one of these items is going to have a priority. So 10K actually has a priority. So like 10K has, let's say, priority 1. I don't even remember what it is. This is the thing, is this is why it's so erratic too, is people tell me like, oh, I didn't just put a property here, do this, do this, do this. It's really hard. So as a priority 1, right? But Geneva here has to have something like a priority 10. Okay? Because it's sitting on top of 10K. So any rules that are inside priority 1 should be overwritten by Geneva, because that's an overlay. Same with the spawn. It should be overwritten. But we have things like the tents and the what's it called? Sorry, I'm forgetting my own words here. The tents and the towers, they're actually like priority -1, because I only want the area protection. So if there's a flag like that says like, hey, protect the area, and there's no flag for 10K that says protect the area, it's just going to protect the area. But if somehow one of these gets the priority, like what's a good thing? I don't know. Let's say they overlap, for example, with Geneva. So you take a -1 right here and you put this overlapped with this. Well, it can't. Geneva will take priority, and the tent won't. So there's a whole bunch of levels too of priorities, because we're gonna have, and we do already have, like shops within cities. So shops are areas that actually have a higher priority. So let's say they're like a priority 11, because somebody who owns a shop in Geneva can't have building perms in the rest of Geneva, but somebody who owns Geneva should have build perms in the shop, because they own everything. So there's like little layers of that we have to build. Now, okay, so that is just that's just priority properties. Items. Let's go into items a little bit. Wait. Okay, so we have the particle items. Let's say we have an axe. Oh my gosh, that's terrible. Let's just do whatever, black. There's our axe. It's my... And okay, right there. It's not too bad. It's not a Minecraft axe, but it's an axe. So let's say we have our axe. so far, what we've had for quite a while is the relative value of the axes has been fairly high in comparison. So let's say you, or like in, or what's a good way of putting it? The relative value of the particle effects. So let's just do some yellow. Okay, on an axe like this has been relatively high. And that relativeness is actually based on someone's ability or someone having to go to a website, put in their credit card information, okay, or I should just do money, all right, and then wait for it in-game and then receive the Edgestone in-game, and then they go and they purchase the particle, and then well, no, sorry, let's do this, and then they go and they purchase. Oh, this is so slow. Oh my lordy. Okay, and then they go and they purchase the book, and then they go and they purchase the axe. Or then they go and they make the axe, and then they have to enchant the axe. Woo, enchanting effects. So you actually have like this really long cycle, and for you to get something that's like, let's, you know, it says that it's worth $2. That's really bad, whatever. It says that it's worth, oh no, I did it backwards. Holy jeez. What am I doing here? It says that it's worth $2. All right. But the whole fucking process is just way too much. Now, what we've done, or what I've done, and let's actually go to this, is introduce these 10K challenges. And also what I'm trying to do is with the NPCs is stick little things inside 10K that have challenges to get Edgestone. Or sorry, that eventually gets you Edgestone. A lot of people may say right now, too, that, okay, the challenges are not worth it. They're too slow. They're whatever. But I'm not worried about right now. I'm worried about like in a year from now. Right, where if we slowly start printing something, there has to be like a relative amount of value gained. So I have to be able to catch up with the amount of Edgestone on the server, and this is also why like things like this is so important. Now I'm going after this like a dictator because now that you guys know that this stuff is there, especially, don't screw with it. Okay, if you start screwing with it and really exploiting it, then what you're doing is you're exploiting everybody's ability to have these kind of things in a reasonable way. Like, well, one, you're affecting my income, which we could say income that of course pays for me to do these things, and is also putting me or putting me in the situation where everybody else who's committing to these things. So let's say, for example, and hopefully I've been fairly clear about this with Janaba, is they can have special items and stuff like that in their specific city, in their specific town, because like that is where like that's like an extra feature to our server, right? Like inside that 10K zone, they have these special things. Now we've had other goals and stuff like that where people have, we have actually the giant tree there, and of course it's still sitting there. That's a goal where, you know, two older members actually have an idea about what they want to build and all these games and systems and stuff like that. And so I'm kind of just letting them. We're just holding it there. So if they want to do it, and that's the way we're going to build these systems and stuff like that. But those games, to me, should be able to offer rewards that have real world value. So this is where our server hearts. That's a really bad. I want the valve and everything in it. Okay. This is where our server hearts are not just my own value, they are the value of the other builders and creators on the server. Now, the Edgestone being a financial decision of one that is forward thinking, meaning that the people that have the server hearts are going to now have a choice. They can turn it into Edgestone, which has its equivalence to $1 value, which also puts, you could say, puts pressure on us or me, the builder, and all the other people that are like building their own things and running their own systems. The ability to Oh jeez, I'm losing my sentences here because these are so hard. Basically, it incentivizes people to build cool things that burn more of these assets. So, like, I have a vision. I want to be able to create tents and towers that require upkeep, and that upkeep would be server hearts. So you'd have to burn server hearts to be able to keep your property going. Now those properties would be much cheaper, and you could imagine like every single person spawns with a single tent, right? Or a single. There's unbreakable tents and there's breakable tents, but we'll just say tents are unbreakable, and unbreakable tents are the current tents that we have. The unbreakable tents cost decent amount of edgestone, but if you have something like a free tent that you have to charge with, let's say, other cool things like that. Of course, people who are building these cities and whatnot kind of have an incentive to take those from you in a way, because it's just extra land that they have to deal with, and like there's a real incentive for us to be, at least for me, the way that I understand that is, there going to be incentive for us to build a lot of quality within 10K. Now we give people the opportunity to screw off again with the outlaw system. If you just want to play Minecraft and you just want to raid and you just want to just do your own thing, that's fine. Okay, you can take the 50K zone. Of course, Minecraft, the server itself, is becoming more mobile. People have built a lot more things that allow them to get from A to B, and so the server itself has shrunk in size, in general, like relative size in terms of like speed of gameplay, and so we're going to have to account for that. I may end up extending the random teleport out to the edges of 100K, just so that it guarantees that people aren't really overlapping too much with each other, and if you do, you have to go out of your way for it. There's going to be a high risk, high reward for doing things like that, but of course that's going to be all outside of the 10K zone, where us, the people who want to do things and build, do things and build. That being said, how do we do things and build? How do you become a person that contributes to the server? How do you become somebody that that has the same amount of power, you could say, land power, as the Janavans do, as what I've given to them, and also you could say what Wild King and Kiri like have too. They haven't been on this. I want to quote, or say, I want to say, because these are two different ways of funding systems and two different ways of setting up servers and the server systems. Okay, so if you pay me money, then I know that you're dedicated to certain things, and we'll be okay. Now, there's going to be a lot of people out there that will pay me money, and they'll try and fuck with my stuff. I'm sorry, guys. If you give me $5-10 and you start screwing with things, goodbye. You gotta go. There's no question about it, because you're not just screwing with my stuff. You're screwing with everybody's stuff on the server. You're screwing with everybody who has some kind of stake in the server. You're screwing with literally everything. So anybody who's paid for it, anybody else who has an idea about what they want to build. So you pay. We're gonna keep we're literally keeping the same system as before, where if you're on the Patreon, you're gonna get the supporter rank, you're gonna get your property, you're gonna get all these things, you're good to go. All right, but if you're a builder, all right, if you're somebody who's doing it, I want you to build something first. I want you to tell me you have a plan with it, and then what I can do is I can actually divvy out the tents and the tents and the, oh my gosh, towers. It's a tongue twister, not a tongue twister. I don't know why I'm tripping up on that, but that way you'll have the tents and the towers to be able to go out and build these big things first, and then we'll start to designate more detailed property for you. Without a doubt, we'll do that. But I want to see too that these cities are actually becoming something that are for the server, that are for the system, that are working with everything. All right, now we got to be serious. We got to be adults about this. We got to talk about funding. As I've said, if you pay me, it is what it is. But if you're cool dude, we'll give you some advantage. You can, of course, but if you're if you're no interest and you want to have a selfish thing, you can purchase your own property and do your whatever, or you can earn it by playing on the server. Now there is a weird thing that people, and I think it's more kids, they think that being on the server is like paying me. It's nice to have people on the server. It's nice to have good people on the server, and there's a lot of good people on the server. But sometimes people get negative and they think that, again, that I owe them something because they simply are on the system. That is not true. 100% not true in any single way. I don't care if you disagree with me or not. What I do owe you is if we make a business transaction in any or a verbal contract or some kind of setup, and I make a promise on it, all right, and then I have to execute it. And if I don't execute, you can hold me to it, all right. But it has to be a contract between you and me, and know what we're doing, and then we talk to the rest of the server and we go off those kind of things. I like, if I say something, I'm gonna hold myself to it. But we got to be really honest about this. You guys all, even me. It's not like I'm buying Lamborghinis with the money. We are lucky that there are people that are paying for the server right now. We are lucky that there are some people in the community that are putting quite a few dollars of their money a month into the system that they don't even use. They don't even play the game. We're doing Overwatch stuff. Some people don't even play Overwatch with us in terms of our community stuff, and they just join in and, they're whatever. We're cool. And we're friends, and I maintain the systems for, like, I want to have this kind of perspective on this. We're lucky that there's people out there that do that. So everything else that we do, like, on it, we have to be able to think about them. Like, I have to think about them. Very, very important, because I do make these underlying contracts with people. I do make these kind of systems and set up with people. So funding, I overstepped. I will be fully honest about that. I overstepped my budget. I'd made a decent amount of money, and so we're paying. I'm going to give you averages because there's a lot more things that are in and out. Let's talk about server life quickly too, and how that goes on in terms of funding and why this matters. Okay, so we have to think, and this is really important. Why is this not drawing anymore? Oh, pen, there we go. We have to think, okay, that attention nowadays, and we all know this, attention, attention is money. And I know I just said, hey, gamers, if you guys are on the server for free, you're not really making anything, right? Like, you're not, like, the world runs on, unfortunately, money, things to pay stuff with. And so we have to be able to think about attention as things that you're willing to give up of value to be able to fund something, all right, to be able to build something or do something. Because at the end of the day, you have to be able to trade that value to eat food, to have a house, to do something. You have to be able to prove even that you have the time in your life, the value in your life, to be able to sit down and go and do something like this. Okay, so my attention also matters a lot on the server, as you guys know, because if I don't keep up to date with things, if I don't update the server, if I don't make sure things are running smooth, if I don't do all that kind of stuff, the server is actually garbage with my attention, right? So you have my eyes here, right? It's gonna look like, we're gonna put it to the sides. So, oh my god, there we go. Okay, so my attention, these little drawings, works or funds the value of the attention of the little server. And a lot of you don't see this because I hide it, meaning I don't like when people see this kind of stuff, because it makes the game more meta. It removes you from the map and takes you into something else that's not really important for you as a player. But if I'm able, okay, so let's say, for example, I build a banner, like my attention, or let's say I do something on the server or anything like that, I have to build a little banner. And the banner says, I'm just going to put wow, right? Because we've changed something on the server. We've made something new. We've made something good. Because what happens is you actually have, like, I'm going to use a little tie here, actually. That's a really bad tie. And right, you have other guys with lots and lots of money, and they can have hundreds and hundreds of other people. That's my money. That's money. They can have hundreds and hundreds of other people, these little heads, build stuff really quickly. And this is the reality of life, right? It's actually really, really hard to not look at other things sometimes, the easy attention grabbers, the multi-million-dollar projects, because those are the things that are actually more entertaining for the majority of us the majority of the time. And this is where I'm getting with this. Trust me, I'm going to get kind of wrap this all up here in a second. If I was to look at the stats of my server, and as the earlier Minecraft players know, because I've showed them this, but I stopped showing people it, is that I tracked, and I don't really have much anymore because I'm not going to lie, it got very stressful for me, and so I haven't watched it in a while. But I tracked like the user base and what I was doing and what I was adding and all this kind of stuff. And we actually had a period of significant growth for a while. But we also have to imagine what went on in that time. So we should take a look at the server, and right now it's fairly low in its life. But this is actually the way all servers and system works. You start with 0, and you go for months and months and months with 0. Like this server ran for I think half a year with like 1 or 2 players a day, not even a day. Every few days it sat there completely dead. Nobody was on it. It was what it was. Every once in a while someone jump on, play a little bit. So we went through a complete dead period, right? Now we experienced a period of growth, and when actually that growth kind of hit a ceiling because we had a performance issue, and not only that performance issue, but a bunch of glitches and bugs with a bunch of other systems. What this does is this allows me to test things, because what happened too is I decided about right here, okay, that I was going to spend a few $100s, and more than a few $100s. A few of my community knew this. I now that I think about it too, I probably wasn't too clear about it. I didn't do it the social media way of saying it, but I took marks more than $100, like a lot, like maybe 1,000 plus. And I put it into a brand new computer to update the server, or not, update my community's media output, right? And then I used a bunch of that money to purchase a server. Now this is a big decision because I'm a cryptocurrency guy. You guys probably seen things have been out, for a while. So this is me actually taking a significant portion out of my wallet at the moment because I don't have much money. It was it's actually a little bit more than that. And overall, but I was actually pumping a whole bunch of money and time into this. So this was like new plugins, new updates, new server upgrades, new RAM, new videos were coming. I paid for the ad campaign. I did all this kind of stuff. All right, and I stopped probably paying for stuff right about here at the moment. So we had a little bit of peak after this, which is great because this is where all the funding kind of runs out. And then what we're left with is we're kind of left with the dedicated players. Now, what happened, and I don't think a lot of people realize too, is that just wipe. Is that a lot of players that we got during this peak, go black, and then I'll do green. Okay, so that we got during this peak, that's a really bad whatever. That's worse than before. There's a little dip here, and then, these players remember the good stuff. Hopefully these players remember the good stuff. Because what happened is about right here, I'll use red, the server changed. And it changed from a dense, it literally doubled in density, meaning the amount of people that were doing things, of course, inside 10K doubled. So the amount of these kind of conflicting ideas, if you think about our list of, I'm not going to do the whole thing, but our list of gameplay types, I'm going to do GT, gameplay types, actually happened in a much denser area. And so we have to rethink this, because this bottle capped the server as much as the technical difficulties did. And this is kind of an underlying insidious issue that I don't think is very easily addressed, but may be addressed by splitting things off. So we can take things like the chat, okay? We'll be honest, for the younger players, and I'm gonna say younger meaning under like 23, which makes me feel old. 22? No, we're gonna younger than 20. I'm gonna put it this way, younger than 20. Now that I'm actually, I was just, yeah, that feels like a better number here. All right, your chat, the chat logs are garbage, and the guys who are over 20 got real sick of it, and got real sick of watching it, and got real sick of just drama. So all of these players that we chunked in right here, okay, have decided that, okay, I'm out for a while. I'm gonna go play single player Minecraft. I'm gonna go play a different game, right? These players that were left are actually these players on the top. Okay? And then when it burns down because these players that were on the top joined when the server was growing. And so they joined a different game. Let's use like turquoise here. Or that's green, I guess. This top part is a completely different game than before. And because the game is no longer the game that they think it is anymore, it's this downhill, like, whatever, we're actually probably going to see a resurgence of some old players. And this is the same thing too with Overwatch, with the community, I've done Overwatch stuff for years, and this is kind of the way it goes in cycles, right? These guys might return, and there's actually kind of a little peace zone too. There's a zone where it grows like this, because now every single player that's in this group right here understands how the community works at this scale. And then it grows, and it's going to grow a little bit too large, and then we have to like refigure everything out again and go from there. That's really, really important. So that's kind of the expectations and whatnot. I'm going to cut this video now because I think I've been rambling a little bit too much. You'll notice that there's no direct solutions to any of these things, more simply of like, I'm identifying this is this, this is this. This is how we break down something, because this is all I know how to do right now. I'm not totally sure about the solutions to these kind of things, but I think things like passports would be really nice. So if you're going to certain areas, you can carry a passport and you can enter it. And then also too, the reason why that people really liked the server originally is because you could just go out and do survival wherever the hell you wanted. We might be able to extend that zone out a little bit more, so new players immediately get the survival experience, but then they kind of sneak back in because they're not outlawed or anything. They can kind of come back in and go, oh, okay, there's cool stuff within the center. Because I think what a lot of servers do too, in my opinion, is they go into garbage. So they go, hey, look at all of our cool stuff. Look at all of our fancy stuff. Look at all of our stuff. And then in behind, there's like Minecraft just sitting here going like, hey guys, I'm a good game. Come play me. And I want more of like this, but then we can kind of build both of them inside this zone. And with that, I'm going to get more critical of griefers and people that are like that. We can still, I'm not going to go into rules about very specific, you're allowed to destroy this, you're allowed to whatever. I hate doing that. I'm simply going to put that if you take it outside of the game, meaning if it becomes bullying, these are more rules that I'm rule specific. Okay, if there are things that I feel like you're literally doing it to traumatize someone, then we're gonna be able to go, yeah, you're not allowed in here anymore, goodbye, and we'll do things like that. We'll be able to separate people, or we're gonna say to somebody, suck it up, pussycat. You're in a zone that you're probably going to get dunked on. Maybe you should go somewhere else and get good first and then come back to the zone and you'll be okay. That's the way most game developers have set things up, is zones for players to do these things and make these choices. Potentially, too, this allows for technical things like having multiple servers on one map, which I have seen. So we could have like inside 10K being one server and outside, but I'm not going to promise anything like that. This is just more of like, if anybody knows anything about the stuff, feel free to speak up about it because the development will come. Whew, that being said, guys, thank you so much. I know this was a lot to go over, but also it's needed. And you can see how there's lots of... they're not problems, even though that's the first word that comes to mind. There's lots of details that all must be considered, and defining those details will define the gameplay in and out within the server. So that's it. Thanks, guys.